Thanks, Orla, and thanks, Paul and Aidan, for the presentations. I think the good work that you do there in terms of the collaborations is widely known across the island and internationally, and I think a lot of other areas have an awful lot to learn from you. So I want to commend everybody involved in that for the great work that you're doing in the Northwest Strategic Partnership and the positive cross-border collaboration that's there. And I think we can see the benefits from it in every area. You've outlined a lot of them in your previous answers and in your presentation. So just a couple of questions, I suppose, coming from Mayo as well. I don't buy into the just Derry, Belfast and Dublin circle. We're looking at obviously the Western Economic Corridor and what can be developed there. And we're very enthusiastic about the possibilities and the opportunities around the Atlantic University there. So my first question would probably be that, because I note everything that you're talking about in terms of the opportunities around the 500 million market in the EU and the access to the British market and all that. But the real challenge will be a skilled labour force. So how we can work on that. So the opportunities that can present and what we can do from this end as well in terms of the Atlantic Technological University there. And then also in terms of the opportunities of the green agenda, the collaboration there, the opportunities for investment and growth for renewable energies in the Northwest and the West as well. So maybe those two first questions. See how we go for time. Thanks.
Okay. Aidan, would you like to take the Western Atlantic one? I can take the one on the green energy, if that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's great. And Rose, thank you again very much for your questions there. Absolutely agree with you. In terms of the economic corridor, and I had a meeting with the Dublin Belfast Economic Corridor folks there this week. See what's happening there. Very exciting. And again, that cross-border element features really heavily in order to make that whole thing work. The Western corridor, absolutely, we can see the green shoots, as it were. The Atlantic University is a really welcome asset for the region. Letterkenny has worked very hard to get to that stage and engaging with businesses to help develop those courses, those research projects, and all to get to that stage. The magic ingredient in all this is there's three things that need to work and need to be tied together. That is the business community, academia, and government, local government, whether that's councils or whether that's the regional or national governments, like the Assembly or the Irish government. Those are the three things. If they're tied together, then the magic happens. We have got great opportunity with what is happening, along in Donegal. There's certainly ambition there. Things are changing. We're seeing more inquiries about Derry. We're seeing a levelling up, both from a Northern Ireland perspective, that there should be and will be more investment into the Northwest, and then the same sort of narrative from the Irish government as well, talking about levelling up from a regional perspective with Donegal. That all comes together. I think we'll have a really good recipe for success in terms of economic growth. And to address your point there about the skilled labor force, as I said before, that's number one priority. That is the thing that we have to get right, and that's how academia is so important.
Maybe I could jump in there, Rose, as well, and just compliment Aidan there. He said in relation to, we had an energy conference there not so long ago in Derry, in the City Hotel, and it was very interesting to hear from manufacturers and transport organisations, things, what the challenges are for them, and waste management companies as well. And Sony gave a presentation there. They're the distributor of electricity in Northern Ireland, and you're right, the Northwest and your region as well. Of course, it's a huge wind opportunity there. But if we are producing energy there, we should use it locally rather than losing it in transporting that energy somewhere else. So there is a great opportunity to change the way we look at how we produce energy and where we produce it. And if we have a strategic plan together, we should be encouraging manufacturing to be as close to where the actual energy is produced and change that whole mindset. And I think there's a business opportunity there that we're certainly wrapping businesses around. But what we're doing, I think we're starting the conversation about where the opportunities are from a business perspective. I mean, if I take an example of the medical school coming to McGee here, some businesses have fallen out of that already. Medical Masks have started, one of our members has started a new business in parallel to their own business. And once you start that discussion and you make people aware of it, then people look at the region in a different way and have a different mindset to it. And I think with hybrid working, with the whole energy thing there, I think there's a great joined up approach that can be there to put that business case together for the Northwest region. And energy plays a huge part in that overall solution, and it could bring new types of jobs to the region. And again, it's tapping in that education bit we touched on earlier to making sure we have the right skills in place so we're ready to embrace those technologies when they come on board and we make that transition.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. And I think with the GMIT as well, and even the Mayo campus and the collaboration there between Mayo University Hospital and then with McGee as well, I think we need to look toward. We have successes and we have successful programs that you know yourself that you're involved in, some of them across the island. How concerned would you be about the student mobility across the island, say the north, south, north? So few students. I know they do more in kind of your own region, but overall, in terms of what can we do more, do you think, to encourage north-south student mobility at both undergraduate and postgraduate level?
Well, I think having the right courses here and attracting, you know, like the medical school, I mean, what there has been some analysis done on that, when you have courses that people want to, they will travel there, they will live there, and some actually stay there and continue to live there with their families afterwards, or if they do leave, they come back. So it is about creating those courses. I've no doubt that if we created a bunch of courses in the Northwest around green energy, people will come to those because they're the jobs of the future, and you know they're the skills that we're going to need. So I think it's having that overall strategic plan where that skills gaps can be filled, and making sure the colleges, FE and universities are providing the courses that the businesses need in order to develop and grow. And hope the students, you create the courses, I think the students will follow. That'd be my view.
I think Enniskillen Equestrian College is a good example of that, where they have 50-50 north-south student mobility there, and it's that type of niche, the course, the way they have developed it. But certainly, I do think in terms of the green energy and the courses that can be done there, and specifically to attract people into it. And I'm hoping that with the Castle's report, that may address the funding model we have for third level, will address some of the funding issues that are there, that I think prevent some of the third level institutions from being as creative and innovative as they could be, where the core funding to be looked at, so that we're not always looking at international students as cash cows, and that we, you know, look right across the island for the opportunities that are there. I'll just say finally, I'm really pleased that you have such an interest in the All-Ireland Strategic Rail Review, because again, in terms of the Western Rail Corridor and the developments there, I think that's hugely important for us in the West, that we have the connectivity there. So our 15 minutes is up, so I just want to thank you again for the work that you're doing.
No, I thought it might come up at some stage today, and I was going to mention about McGinley's bus. Only for McGinley's bus, I don't think we'd have any connectivity in the Northwest, or TransLink as well. So we owe a lot to that company for keeping everything, all the whole economy going over the years.
But I want to be able to catch the train from
Yes.
Castlebar to get to Belfast and go by Derry and
Well, anybody travelling from Dublin to Derry at the moment, I mean, the road is appalling once you cross the border. And whatever about trains, we need to get cars and buses and lorries on that road as quickly as we can, safely. Claire Hanna from the SCLP, and then the Alliance after that, Stephen. Come ahead, Claire.
Okay, thank you very much, Chair, and thank you to the witnesses. It's been a really, really interesting conversation, and good that you're so technically engaged in all of those issues. I mean, particularly that cross-border tax. I know Colm Eastwood and I had met with the group before. It's important generally to guard against wherever it comes from, borderism and just barriers to trade and life on the island, and just in order to kind of realise the big opportunity of people changing how they want to work and live, and after the pandemic, and there's real regeneration opportunities from the Northwest in terms of people being able to work remotely and live. So I agree with you entirely and where you're coming from in all of that, and also on the importance of the rail review. I think, as people say, nothing more nakedly lays out the impact of partition and then underinvestment in the West and Northwest generally, than looking at the rail map. And in terms of connectivity and the economy of the future, it's really critical. I know that's a really important piece of work, and it's by the two ministers. So I'm really glad you're onto it. Just, I don't want to overlay what colleagues have already raised. So just had two specific questions flowing from all of our Brexit outworkings, and one is, I mean, obviously we don't anticipate the grace periods ending anytime soon, and obviously hope that going forward, you know, the level of checking is as unobtrusive as it can be. But we know that there will have to be some. I think, are you still operating with temporary infrastructure in terms of any of your checking capacity, and are there issues around that, around the installation and provision of more permanent infrastructure as regards any protocol and post-Brexit checks you need to make? Also then around, we were talking about how workforce and access to people is so critical to businesses and just the dynamism of the region. And I don't know, the whole ETA issue and of EA nationals and other non-British and Irish citizens requiring electronic certification to cross the border. I mean, I think that has the potential to be absolutely devastating to a lot of, just it creates a border for different categories of citizens. But obviously you can see many ways in which it would impede businesses in terms of movement of their own human resources, and obviously huge impacts for tourism, just with all of the visitors that go north who arrive in through Dublin. And I wonder, is that something that's on your radar, or have you any thoughts on? And then finally, just because I know it's there's different views out there, where are you guys on the potential free port concept, and how do you think it would work for the region? Thank you.
Yeah. Well, just on the Freeport one, Hannah, I think Brian McGrath is going to be on a call, as I understand, after this. So it's not one that I'd have a lot of expertise to talk about, really. I don't have a lot of detail on it. I'm not sure, Aidan, have you any more on that you could add on the Foyle Port bit?
You know what, you've got the expert coming on shortly in terms of that. I wouldn't like to contaminate any information that would that's not coming from an expert area of expertise. But Claire, your point there about, you know, the EU citizens piece is absolutely on our radar as well. It has the potential, to a lesser degree than the issue we talk about, you know, with our ROI colleagues that are crossing are working from home. It still does have the potential to have an impact. We've got companies such as Seagate in Derry who have very, very niche skills requirements, and they look well beyond the island of Ireland for those skills. They're going into Europe, France, Italy, Spain for very, very specific skills in and around physics and material science and things. So that's a company that one of our members that would certainly be concerned from a mobility perspective, and having EU citizens being able to continue to work from them, because it could very well be that they're living on either side of the border. It doesn't specifically mean that because Seagate's in Derry that they're all living in Derry as such. That's what I would say on that matter. Paul,
and on the infrastructure, I know on the infrastructure one, that's a port issue as well. But so don't feel the need to.
But you're right, Hannah. Anything that stops or has a barrier, be it visible or invisible, you know, in terms of the hinterland, we'll call it here, is not good, you know. And we want freedom of movement on both sides of the border, all nationalities, because we need everybody to make this place work. So certainly we don't want any obstacles. Electronic certification, it's come on the radar. We haven't done anything as a chamber yet. We haven't made an official response on it, but it's something that's in the ether at the minute being discussed, and we're just watching it closely as a watching brief. But that's where we are. In relation to the Brexit outworkings and the checking, the temporary arrangements, I don't have a lot of information on that myself, Hannah, to be quite honest on that, in terms of, I know the SBS checks have been reduced. I mean, you know, I'm hoping as a chamber, from our members' perspective, that we get a resolution as soon as we possibly can to give that stability we so badly need, to get that investment we were talking about earlier on, where businesses want to invest in the region, but they won't until they have that certainty.
Absolutely, certainly, and political stability. Thanks very much, Chair. That's all for me for this section. Thanks.
Stephen.